when people started shouting it. And I believe that is the reason why they are removing everyone that is associated with me. But that won't deter me. Because you see, this thing is about the people. This thing is about God. This thing is about what God wants to do. And nobody can stop it.
The relationship between the two PDP leaders got frosty when Fauci allegedly suspended two serving lawmakers in the State House of Assembly who were suspected to be working towards Olujimi's political ambition in 2018. Similarly, national spokesman of PDP, Dayo Adeyeye, insisted that party stakeholders in the state should not have adopted Mr. Eleka, considering the number of aspirants jostling for the governorship ticket. In a statement made available to newsmen in Ado-Ekiti, Mr. Adeyeye expressed his complete rejection of the development. He equally fingered Governor Fauci of writing the script upon which the party's stakeholders were acting. However, the Special Assistant to Governor Fauci on Public Communications and New Media, Mr. Larry Olainga, said the decision to adopt Mr. Eleka was reached after a wide consultation.
Well, all I can tell you is that voters of PDP in Ekiti State met and adopted the deputy governor as their own preferred candidate or aspirant, whichever way you want to put it. So, and Governor Fauci is also part of the stakeholders. So that's what happened.
Olushola Eleka from the South Central District was yesterday adopted as the PDP sole candidate for the 2018 governorship polls in Ekiti State at an event held at the Government House in Ado. Kenya's Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, is due to meet the governing Jubilee Party and the main opposition, NASA Alliance, in a bid to solve an impasse over the makeup of the commission. Earlier this week, opposition presidential candidate Raila Odinga said it would not be a part of the 17th of October presidential rerun if some officials were not changed at the commission. President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee Party says some of IEBC officials are partisan. Last week, Kenya's Supreme Court annulled August presidential election result won by Kenyatta, claiming that the commission had not carried out the election in accordance with the constitution. South Sudan's government has described U.S. sanctions on three leading officials as unfortunate. Information Minister Michael Markwe Lueth, Deputy Defense Chief Malik Ruben, Riak Rengo, and the former head of the army, General Paul Malong, were banned from traveling to the U.S. and had their assets frozen. Three companies owned by the Deputy Defense Chief have also been targeted. The U.S. Treasury said that the accused persons had abused human rights and also tried to derail the peace process. A civil war is currently ongoing in South Sudan, which began in December 2013, and attempts to get the sides to stick to a peace deal have failed. A vote on legalizing same-sex marriage in Australia will proceed after a court in the country dismissed two legal challenges. The survey to gauge support for changing the Australia's Marriage Act is to begin next week. The High Court of Australia dismissed separate objections by same-sex marriage advocates who had argued the Porter vote was invalid. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has said that the law could change this year if the vote shows majority support. Australians will be casting their vote from Tuesday till October 27, and the results are expected to be announced on November 15. Meanwhile, an Australian politician has delivered a speech revealing that her estranged husband was jailed for being in possession of child pornography. Rachel Carlin Jenkins, who is a member of a state parliament, said she discovered the extensive collection in their family home last year. The conservative politician told a sitting of the upper house that she had kept silent on the matter to prevent interfering with police and court proceedings. Rachel stated that she never suspected that her husband was addicted to child pornography. Her husband was jailed after Carlin Jenkins and her son went to report the issue to the police. You're on to Global News from Adaba, 88.9 FM Akure, transmitting from Ilamoki. After the break, Israeli jets destroy Syrian military base. Plus, U.S. proposes fresh UN sanctions against North Korea. Details of these and more in a moment. Please stay tuned.
The news on Adaba 88.9 FM.
For news, updates, and live streaming, visit our website www.adaba889.fm. Like us on Facebook on www.facebook.com/AdabaFM88.9. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Adaba889FM. Now to the rest of the bulletin. Syria says Israeli jets have hit a military base in the west of the country amid reports of a strike on a chemical weapons factory. An army statement said rockets fired from Lebanese airspace targeted the site near Masyaf, killing 2 soldiers. Unconfirmed reports say a chemical weapons production facility was also hit in the attack. The incident occurred a day after UN investigators said they had concluded that the Syrian government was behind a deadly chemical weapons attack on a rebel-held town in April. The UN says at least 83 people died in the attack on Khan, Shekon, and Damascus, has always denied using chemical weapons. At least 9 people have died and many rendered homeless as Hurricane Irma caused widespread destruction across the Caribbean, reducing buildings to rubble. The small island of Barbuda is said to have been seriously damaged, and officials have warned that St. Martin's is almost destroyed and the death toll is likely to rise. More than half of the island's 3 million residents were without power as Irma caused heavy downpours and strong winds. Officials also say power could be cut off for several days. The U.S. has proposed a range of new United Nations sanctions against North Korea, including an oil ban and a freeze on leader Kim Jong-un's assets. The sanctions circulated to the Security Council members comes after North Korea tested their 6th nuclear and repeated missile launches. Pyongyang also claims to have deployed a hydrogen bomb and continues to threaten to strike the U.S. The draft U.S. proposal calls for a total ban on supplying a range of oil products to North Korea and a ban on its textile export industry. The sanctions also suggest freezing the assets of Mr. Kim and the North Korean government, as well as banning him and other senior officials from traveling. China and Russia are both expected to oppose further sanctions. A senior member of the South African Football Association, SAFA, Norman Arendtes, says the association cannot accept the decision by football's world governing body, FIFA, to order a rematch of the World Cup qualifier between South Africa and Senegal after officiating referee Joseph Lamte was banned for life. South Africa won the match last year, but the referee has been accused of match manipulation after wrongly awarding a penalty to South Africa. Norman Arendtes, who heads SAFA's legal committee, disclosed this to newsmen. To end global news, a recap of our top stories. Kenya's Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commissioner is set. Kenya's Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is set to meet all aggrieved parties ahead of the October 17th presidential rerun. Syria has announced that jets belonging to Israel have hit a military base and killed 2 soldiers. The U.S. has made a case for new UN sanctions against the North Korea. The sanctions were not unconnected to the North Korea's recent test of a hydrogen bomb. That's Global News as edited by Aladesomi Oyekomi. I am Oluwatoyin Omodara. Good afternoon.
When people start shouting it, and I believe that is the reason why they are removing everyone that is associated with me. But that won't deter me. Because you see, this thing is about the people. This thing is about God. This thing is about what God wants to do. And nobody can stop it.